It was just after midnight when the Range Rover struck. No warning, no hesitation, just metal crashing into glass. 3 figures in black moved through the wreckage, fast, silent, and methodical. They weren't after cash from the till, they had something heavier in mind. By the time police arrived, the shop was in ruins, and the vehicle was already burning 2 miles away. It wasn't the first time. Across southern England, a string of late-night raids had left shop fronts destroyed, alarms ringing into empty streets, and small businesses shuttered for weeks. But whoever was behind them, they were fast, they were organized, and they left nothing behind. For months, the raids continued. No names, no faces, just wreckage, until a specialist unit stepped in and began watching. This is the story of a masked crew on a 10-month rampage, and how the flying squad tracked them, closed in, and wiped them out. They weren't teenagers looking for chaos. They were older, experienced, and calculated. William Connors was 29, a known face to police in West London. His record included burglary and handling stolen goods. Darren Easthaw, 36, had been inside before too, most famously for his part in the burglary of John Terry's mansion, a job that netted hundreds of thousands after the footballer posted a family holiday photo online. Anthony Rodwell was the driver. At 33, he'd already served time for blowing up ATMs across Surrey and the Thames Valley. In 2017, he was jailed for 12 years after a string of explosions used to blast open cash machines. He'd been out just over a year. Then there was Sebastian Gnip. At 37, he had no serious criminal record. Originally from Poland, he'd struggled to find stable work in the UK. He lived in Ealing, West London. Each man had a role. Connors and Easthaw were the organisers, the ones with burglary experience, the ones who picked the targets. Rodwell was the wheelman, calm under pressure, always ready with a second car. Nip was newer, lower level, but still present on key raids. They didn't advertise what they were doing. No flashy clothes, no weapons, no violence towards staff. But behind closed doors, they were planning one of the most damaging burglary sprees southern England had seen in years. They didn't need firearms. They had force, timing, and stolen vehicles. Over time, a method formed, one that would take them across counties, into dozens of shops, and through millions in losses. And it all started with cars. The first hit came in November 2021, a jeweller in West London. Metal shutters torn open by a stolen Range Rover. No suspects, no trace. Then another, and another. By the end of December, the pattern was unmistakable, always the same method. A 4x4, reversed at speed, smashed through a shop front, usually just before 1 a.m. Within seconds, masked men in dark clothing poured in. Inside, they moved with purpose. No time wasted. Tills ripped open, cabinets smashed, chains wrapped around ATMs. Then they vanished. The jobs were fast, brutal, always under 5 minutes, and always with high-end stolen vehicles. Over the next 10 months, the gang widened their range, hitting not just London, but Berkshire, Surrey, Hampshire, Dorset, and Buckinghamshire. No area was off limits. Anywhere with cash, safes, or valuables was fair game. Each job had its own signature. Police logged each attack, but the crew moved too fast and left nothing clean behind. With every month, the cost rose, over £1.2 million in stolen goods and nearly £2 million in destruction. And still, no arrests. The vehicles were everything. Each raid began with 2, one to ram, one to escape. Range Rovers, Land Rovers, Jaguars, BMWs, always high-powered, always stolen. But these weren't snatched at knife point. The gang used tech, signal jammers, relay devices, key emulators, tools that let them unlock cars without touching the glass. One device mimicked the owner's fob signal from inside a house. Another stopped on-board trackers from ever pinging a location. It worked. Dozens of vehicles vanished from driveways without a sound. Police believe this wasn't just to destroy evidence, it was psychological. A message. Nothing to tie them to the scene. No fingerprints, no DNA, no dashboard data. Only ash and twisted metal. To disguise their movement further, the gang swapped plates with cloned number tags, fake registrations pulled from similar cars across the UK. CCTV might capture a plate, but it would trace back to an innocent driver hundreds of miles away. Each job needed meticulous prep. The right car, the right area, timed to the minute. By the time they hit the ground, they'd already done the homework. In one case, they used Richard E. Grant's Land Rover Discovery, stolen from outside his West London hotel while he was quarantining after a family visit abroad. Days later, it was filmed ploughing through a Tesco Express. He only found out when police called him at 4 a.m. Vehicles were tools to them. Not status symbols, not joyrides. Everyone had a purpose. And everyone helped them disappear. What made them stand out wasn't stealth. It was shock. The gang relied on impact, vehicles turned into weapons, and speed as their protection. Each raid followed a script. A stolen 4x4 shattered the front. And once inside, everything moved fast. Sledgehammers for display cases, angle grinders for cashbox bolts, chains already looped and ready, hooked to safes or ATMs, yanked straight out the front of the shop and into the boot of a waiting car. Every detail served speed. Entry in seconds. Inside for no more than 4 minutes. Escape routes planned to the meter. Burn sites for the vehicles pre-selected. Even their movements were calculated. CCTV showed no conversation between them, just gestures. It was a style of burglary that didn't just take money, it left scars. On buildings, on businesses, on people. And as the raids continued, it became clear. If police didn't stop them soon, more towns were next. Before police could catch up with them, it was the victims who were left to deal with the wreckage. Not just the cost, but the silence that followed. Each raid left more than broken glass. It left shops shuttered, communities disrupted, and owners wondering if reopening was even worth it. In total, the gang caused an estimated £1.8 million in physical damage. But the bigger number came from what couldn't be cleaned up so quickly. £1.5 million in lost earnings. Many of their targets were small, independent businesses, family-run jewelers, local petrol stations, convenience shops that had served neighbourhoods for years. In Feltham, a Tesco Express hit with a stolen Land Rover was closed for 5 weeks. In Reading, damage to an SO forecourt cut off fuel access to an entire area. Uprooted safes meant structural repairs. And until repairs were done, those businesses earned nothing. Some owners laid off staff. Others dipped into savings to stay afloat. A few never reopened at all. Wembley's Kenya Jewellers, in business for over 40 years, was one of them. After a night raid caused hundreds of thousands in losses, they didn't come back. Local police logged every hit, but to business owners, it felt like the gang was untouchable. They hit at will, disappeared into the dark, and left a mess behind. Public frustration grew. So did pressure on the Met. These weren't just burglaries, they were collapses. And behind them, a crew that still hadn't been named, caught, or even seen clearly, until the flying squad stepped in. The turning point didn't come from a mistake, it came from momentum. By spring 2022, the damage was stacking up, 17 raids with millions of damages. And the public wanted answers. That's when the flying squad was called in. Officially known as the Met Specialist Crime Directorate, they don't handle volume, they handle precision, high-value robberies, armed gangs, repeat crews operating at scale. And this one ticked every box. Their first move wasn't a raid, it was silence. Analysts pulled CCTV from every borough that had been hit. Vehicles were logged, burn sites were mapped. Police in Hampshire, Berkshire, Surrey and Dorset were looped into a joint task force. Phone data and ANPR hits were cross-referenced with unsolved break-ins. A pattern emerged, and at the centre of it, one name: William Connors. By June, surveillance was underway. Undercover units tracked their movements, storage yards were watched, car theft patterns were logged. Police even monitored suspected fences, buyers of stolen watches and jewelry, hoping to catch the gang in mid-sale. Over 6 months, the flying squad built a full picture. They weren't just reacting to crimes, they were now watching them form in real time. By mid-August, the signs were clear. Known gang members were on the move. A white Mercedes was seen circling sites in Reading. An Alfa Romeo appeared in the same area, parked and waiting, and the group's activity had shifted from planning to movement. The target was identified, a Tesco Express petrol station in Caversham. This time, officers didn't follow. They were already there. August 19, 2022. Caversham, Reading, just before midnight. The gang didn't know it, but every movement was being watched. Connors, Easthall and Rodwell were dropped off in a white Mercedes. They approached the target site, an Esso garage with a Tesco Express, and climbed into a parked Alfa Romeo, already positioned as the getaway car. Nearby, unmarked police vehicles sat in silence, lights off. The flying squad had surrounded the area hours earlier. Then it began. A stolen Range Rover drove up, reversed hard into the shopfront. Metal bent, glass exploded. The gang moved fast, 3 inside, 1 waiting in the Alfa. One man used a grinder to slice through bolts on the shop floor. Another dragged out cash boxes, while the third covered the entrance. But this time, they weren't alone. As they loaded the last box, police moved in. Rodwell, behind the wheel of the Alfa, tried to escape. He reversed out, but was rammed by officers, forced off-road and down a small embankment. He fought back, violently, until he was tasered and cuffed at the scene. Connors bolted. He was tasered while running and subdued nearby. Easthall vanished into a nearby primary school, sparking a short manhunt before being arrested days later. Knipp wasn't present during the raid, but he was tracked soon after. When police searched his room, they found a signal jammer, a device used to block vehicle trackers. Inside the Alfa, police recovered sledgehammers, a crowbar, and a drill, all used in previous raids. The arrest didn't just stop a crime in progress, it locked the crew to a wider spree. The vehicles, tools, locations, and patterns all matched. The raid in Caversham didn't succeed, but it ended everything. They didn't go quietly, but in the end, they all stood in the dock. The trial was held at Isleworth Crown Court. Each of the 4 men admitted involvement in a total of 53 offences, spanning burglary, vehicle theft, ATM theft, and attempted break-ins, committed between November 2021 and August 2022. The prosecutor, Tim Probert Wood, laid out the case with precision. He described the gang as a professional team of burglars and ram raiders who had caused enormous destruction and lasting shock. He said burglary was too soft a term. These were violent attacks carried out at speed with no concern for the businesses or communities affected. Defense teams offered mitigation. Connors and Easthall were fathers. Rodwell's lawyer said he felt like a failure when he couldn't support his family. He wanted to train as an HGV driver. Knipp's barrister described him as the runt of the litter, desperate, not hardened. Judge Davis didn't disagree, but he didn't excuse them. Judge Simon Davis called the operation a sophisticated criminal enterprise. He said the group were determined to make money and showed no regard for the chaos they left behind. Some victims had lost their livelihoods, staff had been laid off, shops forced to shut. Each man received a tailored sentence. William Connors, 29, from Exmouth Road in Hayes, was given 6 years and 6 months. The same sentence was handed to Darren Easthall, 36, of Bedfont Close, Feltham. Both were considered key players in the planning and execution of the raids. Anthony Rodwell, 33, of Laurel Gardens in Ashford, was sentenced to 5 years and 10 months. Sebastian Knipp, 37, of Allenby Road, Ealing, was given 3 years. The court accepted he played a lesser role, but made clear he was still part of the organised team. The sentences reflected what they chose to be, not what they could have been. What do you make of the sentences? Did the punishment fit the damage they caused, or should it have gone further? Let us know what you think. If you want more real UK crime stories like this, built from verified reporting, told without drama, subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell us what case we should cover next. There's always another one out there.